Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, today is going to be a very interesting show because we're going to be talking about something that always generates a lot of conversation in sports forums, especially if you're a follower of the NBA, which is rankings, right? Sports fans, but especially NBA fans, are obsessed with rankings. Whether if it's your top 10, your top 5, your top 5 point guards, your top 5 shooting guard, we just have this obsession. And whenever these big media companies publish these top 10, top 20, top 50 lists, people really argue over it. Some people swear by it. They use what certain companies, maybe like Bleacher Report or this company said, okay, they said this, so therefore this is how I'm ranking my list. People put so much stock into some of these lists. But to me, who's also an NBA fan and someone that covers the NBA, over the last few years now, they've released some rankings that has left a lot of us scratching their heads. And in my opinion, I think the company that makes the worst, that comes up with the worst rankings in terms of NBA players is ESPN, and I don't think it's close. ESPN has some of the worst NBA rankings, to the point where even some of their own on-air talent, like Stephen A. Smith, has actually called them out on TV and said, I don't want to be associated with some of these lists that they put out, right? And many of us used to sit back and wonder, how do they come up with these lists? How are their rankings always so bad? Like, how can you guys sit down in a room and come up with some of the rankings that they do? And funny enough, about 2 weeks ago or so, I came across a show that was published on the Dan Le Batard show, his channel. And it featured, let me actually make sure I get this right, because I want to make sure I get the person that comments on it. I want to make sure I get his name right, because if I get it wrong, then it's going to be like I'm not giving people their proper credit. So Amin Hassan, he's the one that actually reacted to. So as I was watching this particular show anyway, they were talking about NBA rankings, right? And while they were talking, Amin then goes into the process that ESPN uses to generate some of their lists, their top 10, their rankings. And as he was explaining it, I was astonished over the process that they used to generate these lists and then put them out there for public consumption. So what we want to do is, want to play what Amin had to say, because he basically takes you behind the curtains and exposes how these things really work. And then we'll come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
Ladies and gentlemen, in my hand, I hold a sheet of paper that contains the first bellwether mark, yes, the flare in the sky of content season is officially dead, because we're doing the rankings again. Doing the ranking. Oh, let's rank all the players because we don't have shit else to do, and this always gets the people talking. Now, Charlotte, some background. First of all, this is from CBSSports.com, but everyone does one of these. Bleacher Report does one. ESPN does one. I was part of the ESPN one years ago. I think we were the first ones. I want to say my editor, Royce Webb, came up with the idea because, in his words, people love lists. People love lists. People love lists. People love to rank things. People love to argue rankings.
Do you like a list?
Not really. I like it if we're not taking it as gospel. The problem is most people take everything as gospel, which is why it is such a moneymaker for these websites, because they know they're going to get engagement. Engagement not only from fans, but engagement from the players who are like, what? I'm number 72.
Right.
How's
and
that possible?
If you're lucky, they quote tweet it and say that your website is
Yeah, they don't know. That's why these media don't know. Again, this is what the media does, right? But it's interesting. I don't know how CBS Sports does theirs, but I'm willing to pull back the curtain, Charlotte, and tell you how ESPN does it.
Yeah,
because most people think that we would sit there and I would say, okay, LeBron's 1, Steph Curry's 2, 3. Is it Durant or Kobe? I don't. It's not like that. What happens is they create this algorithm, and You go into the portal, and the portal will just give you a bunch of names. Like it'll say Chris Paul or Jason Kidd. And you say, Jason Kidd. It would just bring up like Tyrese Halliburton or De'Aaron Fox. Tyrese Halliburton. Like Julius Randle or Bam Adebayo. Adebayo. Like, and you just kept doing answers, and it took forever. And then based on this, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, well, I guess times hundreds of people, it's like thousands of answers of these one-on-one things, the algorithm would extract with a weighted score, who's one, who's two, who's three. That's how you end up with Kobe being like 25 or whatever that year he was 25, which, by the way, it was like he's coming off of an Achilles. And people are like, what? I'm like, what are you, high? Of course he's not going to be the best player in the league coming off a torn Achilles. So that's how ESPN did it.
Okay.
CBS, I don't know if they're doing the same thing or not, but either way, I implore you all to know, it's all bullshit. They're just wanting you to react and argue. That's all they want to do. This isn't about CBS. It's about any place that gives you a top 100 or top 75 or top 500 or whatever it is. Hell, NFL Network does it for the players every year, right? Which is
everybody does it.
Everybody does it.
it.
It's something, again, we started at ESPN.
But it's fun to talk about.
Not really, but we'll do it anyway.
So you heard what Amin had to say there. Now, I'm sure some of you watching this show are thinking to yourself, bro, why did you even produce, like, why are you guys even talking about this? Well, the reason we're talking about this is this morning, I was going through the internet looking for stuff to talk about, and funny enough, there wasn't much to discuss anyway. And I came across an article here from fadeawayworld.net that was highlighting a comment that Kyle Kuzma made where he was taking a shot at ESPN for their terrible ranking of Russell Westbrook, Jordan Poole, and others. Now, before I even get to that, ESPN released a ranking, as they always do, of their top 50 players going into every season. And in this case, they're doing the 2023-2024 season. So this list goes from 50 to 11. And of course, they have players like Jared Allen and others. I'm just going to go all the way to the, let me see, where do we go? I think at number, okay, let's get it. So we're at number 11. They have Devin Booker. 12, they have Jimmy Butler. 14, they have Damian Lillard. 15, they have Donovan Mitchell. 16, they have Bam Adebayo. And then 17, they have Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, 17. All right, whatever. They got Paul George at 18, Jaylen Brown at 19, and the list goes on and on. But then what happens? Apparently, ESPN and NBA posted something on Instagram that we're going to show to you now, which is a 2002 NBA rankings, and they have players 51 to 100. Now, if you go through this, it says players, so at 55, they have Draymond Green. At 57, they have Zion Williamson. At 66, they have Austin Reeves. At 72, they have Jordan Poole. At 73, they have Chet Holmgren. Then it goes on to say at 76, they have Chris Paul. 78, they have Scoot Anderson. 86, they have Kyle Kuzma. And 94, they have Russell Westbrook. And then Kyle Kuzma posted, he wrote 18 hours ago, ESPN smoking, right? So that's what Kyle Kuzma had to say about ESPN's ranking. Now, what are my thoughts? Well, first of all, I think these rankings reveal what Amin was talking about, which is they do this to get a rise out of people. I personally believe, I could be wrong, but I personally believe that this is clickbait. I believe it's one big clickbait to put something out there so egregious that it causes people to react to it, to interact with it, to read it, to share it. You generate a lot of traffic doing that. And I think that's one of the reasons they might be doing that. Now, in terms of how they rank, I was absolutely astonished. I was astonished that they leave their ranking to be done by an algorithm, which to me is astonishing. You take two players, the algorithm weighs whatever the hell it's weighing, and then it decides between these two players. And you now take the next set of players and you keep doing this, you keep punching in these names, and then you have a weighted ranking, and then that's how you decide who's at the top and who's at the bottom. To me, it's unreal. It's absolutely unreal that is the method that these guys are using to evaluate NBA players in terms of their rankings. To me, it is really, really incredible. For example, Chet Holmgren, who missed his first year as an NBA. I think they call it a red shirt season or something like that. So he'll be playing his first year in the NBA, I believe, this year. He's ranked number 73. But then you have Russell Westbrook, who is ranked number 94. And then one has to ask the question, what are you basing this off of? Because at least with Westbrook, we have historical data to rely upon. But in the case of Chet, what are you relying upon? What are you formulating this decision based on? What is it based on? Now, another thing worth pointing out, Draymond Green is ranked higher than Zion Williamson. So Draymond Green, at his age right now, is a better basketball player than Zion Williamson. Is that what we're saying right now? Draymond Green is better. Draymond Green is better than Zion Williamson. Is that what we're saying right now? Like, so to me, it now makes perfect sense. I think somewhere in all of this, they're trolling people. And I really think that they're doing this for clicks and views. And I think that, they get a lot of people. Now, unfortunately, a lot of these people now use these rankings to now say who the greatest players of all time are, which to me, I think is quite sad. Because you're supposed to come up with the greatest players of all time based on your evaluation. You don't leave it up to other people to tell you that. You can figure it out on your own by doing your own research. I never base my ranking off of what ESPN or Bleacher Report or some of these guys say. No, I do my own research and I come to my own conclusions. It's called thinking for yourself. It's called thinking for yourself. Now, some people have said, oh, ESPN has a bunch of experts up there, and they're the reasons. I mean, you're going to trust these experts because, well, it turns out these experts are not the ones that are coming up with these rankings. It's actually an algorithm. It's not an expert. It's an algorithm. PR is a number. It's what is it? I think it's a number that was made up, a figure or whatever, a formula, whatever that was invented. So you can evaluate players. You got to wait for these people to explain who's great and who's not. Are you that stupid? You can't. I mean, but you realize watching basketball, it's not like as if we're watching how to build the internal combustion engine. You guys, we realize it's not that complicated. It's just a shame that so many people rely on people at ESPN and so-called experts to explain this stuff to you. I mean, first of all, the way I evaluate a player, apart from what they've done and their history and all of that stuff, I watch them play. I watch them play ball. That's the easiest way to understand who's good and who's not. Put these guys on a basketball court and let's see how they play. It's called an eye test. What's next? We're not going to be running. What's the thing when scouts go out there and they bring you in to work you out? We're not going to do that anymore. We're just going to look at a stat sheet, and that's going to be able to figure out whether or not who's good and who's not. This is a ridiculous ranking. It's an absolute ridiculous ranking, but now we know how they do it. To me, it's laughable on its face. It is actually laughable, but hey, that's what they do. So what I want to know from you guys is, number one, what do you think about their ranking? Number two, what do you think about the system in which they use to rank NBA players? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. Peace.